All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. Those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this. All right. This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day, check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. Happyhippo.com.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is the one that everybody wants, me. Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my honor. You're going to acknowledge me.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast. It is Monday, August 21st, 2023. I am currently on vacation, coming to you live from my vehicle because the house that I'm staying in would not be conducive to recording with screaming children. So I'm coming to you live from an undisclosed location in my vehicle, so that pretty much narrows it down, right? But I hope everyone's doing well, and wanted to come to you. This may not be the longest week in review of all time, and I know it's a day late, but hey, I wanted to still touch base. A lot is going on in wrestling, a lot of potential retirement news, but I'll get into that in just a minute. I want to welcome everybody to the show. If you haven't joined us before, this is the WWE Podcast, the unofficial WWE Podcast, and I hope that you consider joining us ad-free, which is on patreon.com/WWE Podcast, and also on Apple and WWEpodcast.com, WWEpodcast.shop.com for your merch. And on Spotify, we have a Spotify stream that's ad-free if you subscribe on Patreon. So pretty cool deal there, and a lot going on, guys. So let's just jump into it here in my limited time that I have, and I still will try to pump out a Raw review as well. My goal is to make sure that I still cover as much as I can and post things. But I mentioned last week, things are going to be late, wonky, and I'll do the best that I can. But all right. So I did watch SmackDown in very fragmented segments. It's, again, difficult on vacation. However, let me just start off with Edge. Okay. The match he had with Sheamus, it's something to be proud of. If you are truly going to go off into the sunset and call it a career, you can't complain if you're an Edge fan or if you're Edge himself, Adam Copeland, of the way you went out, right? You go out, you're with Sheamus, one of your best friends, a guy you never wrestled with, you're in your hometown. I mean, it's a nice little fairy tale ending, right? It's a nice fairy tale ending until you realize a couple of things. Number one, the language they used were twofold. They focused on the 25th year anniversary, or the 25 years of Edge. Everybody talking about Edge, what he's done for the business and all that. And also, they said that this is his final match of his current contract. So, I know he did an off-the-air segment with the audience, but he never closed the door, officially. He kind of partially closed it. There's a crack in the door, and we're still peeking in, okay? So that's the way they framed it. To say that this is an official retirement match is just... I understand the temptation to do it. I know why they wanted to make it look like it, potentially could be. And it really, you know what, and I think it could be. But I don't think it is. Not only because of the language they used of framing this match as the final match of his current contract. I don't know if that's the language they use on SmackDown, but that's certainly the language being used in wrestling websites and news sites. Also, again, celebrating 25 years of Edge is not the same thing as saying this is Edge's final match. That's two different stories to tell. And again, if this truly is the end of Edge in WWE, then he absolutely is a first ballot Hall of Famer, and deservedly so. Secondly, he is not going to AEW. Okay, I could eat my words, and everybody on here could say, "Oh, you don't know anything. See, he showed up." I don't think he will, and here's why. I understand Christian Cage is there. Okay, I understand the Edge and Christian temptation, and you know what? I'll give you this. He may show up for a one-off. Okay, I will say that much, but he won't end his career in AEW. It is not going to happen. Okay, if he shows up in AEW, the AEW crowd will lose it, and he'll team with Christian if Christian's getting his ass kicked, right? Fine. Okay, I will give people that much that that's possible. But my stronger point is he will not finish his career in AEW. It's not happening. Why? Well, beyond the fact that he started his career in WWE and ended his career in WWE thus far. He's there 25 years. His entire legacy lives there. He wouldn't end it in an organization that really is a startup organization. It's still a startup in the perspective of wrestling organizations, okay? It's a startup. So that's reason number one. Reason number two, hey guys, WrestleMania 40, I don't know if you've heard of it. It's this thing that's happening in like 7-8 months. It's kind of a big deal. Not only is it because it's a nice round number of 40. It's in Philadelphia. And if Edge is in physical shape, why in the hell would he end it on a random SmackDown? Okay, I understand it's his hometown, against Sheamus. No disrespect to Sheamus. It's a nice soft ending. To me, that's too soft of an ending. It's too friendly. I think when Edge looks at this, if there is a thing, if there's conversation being had between Edge and management in WWE, it is happening over the fact of, hey, I know we got WrestleMania on the horizon in the next 7 to 8 months. That's where I really would like to end things. And here's who I want my opponent to be. Okay. That's how you end it. And also, reason 3, why wouldn't WWE want to market this a lot longer than a 1-week build? We only got a 1-week build hearing from Edge that he is going to be on SmackDown the next week and that he's going to be wanting to face Sheamus. Why would they do a 1-week build for one of their biggest stars that's ever been in WWE? Not get the most out of their ratings, not get the most dollar out of the match, the retirement match. Again, guys, there's more evidence to believe that Edge is not done in WWE and that he has at least one more match in him at WrestleMania 40 than otherwise not having this happen and have that truly be his final match. So, and again, if this is his final match, there's nothing you could say about his career that would be, that would be detrimental in terms of, well, he didn't finish his career at WrestleMania 40. I don't think his career is the same. His career, to me, will leave the same legacy whether he does it at WrestleMania 40 or whether he does it at SmackDown in Toronto. Okay? Nobody will look at him differently. But when you also think about the symmetry, Edge had to end his career the night after WrestleMania. What was it, 26, right? Right, I think, yeah, it was WrestleMania 27, I believe, against Alberto Del Rio, won the World Heavyweight Championship, and then the very next night on Raw had to call it a career because of a neck injury. Like, when you think about the symmetry there, okay, how many years later? 13 years later, he gets to retire on his own terms at WrestleMania, not retire at WrestleMania because he has to, but retire at WrestleMania because he wants to at WrestleMania 40. And then the very next night on Monday Night Raw says that, 13 years ago, I was standing here telling you that I had to retire. Tonight, I'm standing here telling you that I want to retire, right? He gets to write his final chapter in perfect symmetry the night after WrestleMania 40. And my point is, I don't mean to belabor this. It just seems much more likely that Edge is not done and he has till WrestleMania 40 in Philly and calls it a career. Now, who his opponent is, guys, I mean, if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, you know where I'm going with this, and I still have stayed true to this. John Cena, okay? John Cena is the perfect opponent because of his storied career with John. They both could actually have a double retirement match in WWE if they really wanted to. I mean, again, I don't think WWE would go that road. If they're going to put Edge against somebody, it probably is going to be against somebody that can benefit from the loss, or the victory rather, and that can use that as a springboard to wherever, right? Although that didn't work out for Austin Theory this year. It's all about the follow-up, right? So if he wants to give back to the business, usually you give back to the business by losing your last match. Okay, that's typically how you go out. It's an old school old school belief. It's an old school tradition, if you will. And so Edge, if you're going to do it at 40, should lose, and it should be against an opponent maybe that they can, if it's not Cena, to springboard their career. So all the evidence again suggests that he's not done. But if you like to believe he is, then hey, good for you. Okay, I know that many of you out there do. Okay, let's move on though. So we had other things happen on SmackDown, and we had a very mumbly tag team match with Charlotte and Bianca versus Io and Bayley. I have to say, not exactly the smoothest of matches, and maybe because these four women haven't had this type of scenario before, or what the case may be. But Io obviously missing her cue to stop Charlotte from tagging Bianca. It was the announcers did the best they could to cover it. It was just a flub. All right, I'm not going to hit on them too hard, but it was a rare kind of embarrassing flub in a way. If you watch it back, it's pretty bad. But that said, Io Sky right now does seem to still be over with the crowd. Bayley does seem to be secondary to this whole Damage Control group that still is together. And all right, just so you know, I'm in my car, so I turn the AC on. If you hear some background noise, it's simply because I'm very hot in my car. So all right, let's dive into this tag team match a little bit more, other than the flub. All right, now the ultimate victors were Charlotte and Bianca beating Io and Bayley. And I think that the second half of the match certainly overshadowed the first half with the flub. Bianca hitting a DDT and a neckbreaker combo on Io and Bayley was good. Charlotte getting tagged in and landing a top rope splash, and then hit some chops and tossed Io with a suplex. Charlotte landed a clothesline on Bayley, and then she went up to the top, but Bayley shoved Charlotte to the floor where she sold ankle pain, and then Io ran around to Charlotte and gave her some stomps. She tagged into the match, hit a moonsault, missed a moonsault attempt. Io fired back with a shotai, I think that's how it's called, what it's pronounced as. But couldn't capitalize and went shoulder first into the post, and then Bayley tagged in, but so did Bianca, and Bianca hit the KOD with a kiss of death for the victory. In about 14 minutes nearly, that ended with that. And, I have to say that Io, as the women's champion, right now doesn't feel like she's the champion, does it not? It feels like she's the champion, but like by default it should be Charlotte or Bianca. It just doesn't feel like Io has that swagger yet, and it doesn't feel like she has that kind of that bravado, that I don't know how to describe it. She doesn't have the championship feel. She has the belt, she has the physical part of it, but she doesn't have that intangible yet. And I think it's because of the lack of true connection with the crowd, because of the language barriers is absolutely, I think, a factor. Also, her in Damage Control, when people are ready to cheer her, doesn't help. But Io's not on a bad run thus far, just kind of one that feels a little underwhelming thus far. I mean, it's not fair this far into into her run to say that it's a failed run. It's not. But I would like also Bayley to get more physically involved. It's nice to see Bayley in a scenario where she's not just talking and she's actually doing stuff and she's actually in a match. I feel like Bayley, since she returned at SummerSlam of 22, when she confronted Bianca Belair, that she hasn't had a whole lot of actual matches. And maybe my perception's wrong on that. Somebody could go back and fact check me and count the number of matches. But it feels like, on air anyway, she hasn't had a whole lot of matches. It's been Io, it's been Dakota, Dakota just returned from an injury, but it feels like she's been underwhelming on the card from a in-ring perspective. So it was nice to see Bayley in the ring, I have to say that. And I hope she gets more in-ring time as she deserves and becomes a more central figure. Other than this group that honestly no one gives a damn about, I feel like there's a lot more that Bayley has to give on this run than just being this, leader of a faction that everyone was kind of hoping was just dissolved, right? So that said, Damage Control is what it is right now. Io Sky is still flubbing about, flummoxing, finding her. I shouldn't say that. That's probably a harsh word. She's finding her footing as champion. How about that? I think that's a little bit kinder and more accurate. She's finding her footing as champion. All right. And we'll see what happens there. Now, what else happened on SmackDown? We got, the Street Profits in a very quick victory over, of course, the OC with Michin. That being Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, again, beat them quickly, under 3 minutes. And this is the finish, by the way. Gallows and Anderson attempted a magic killer, but landed kind of a neck breaker. They attempted it again, but Dawkins broke free, and then Ford sent Gallows to the floor with the clothesline and then splashed him with a suicide dive. Dawkins and Ford landed a sky high and a neckbreaker combo to get the victory. So Dawkins and Ford in a very dominant victory over the OC. That said, beating the OC isn't exactly a resume highlight. They have just been brought back to be enhancement talent outside of AJ Styles. So, take that for what it is. I know many people are unhappy about that, but that. The whole OC faction is a different conversation, but having the Street Profits here to use them to be able to tell the crowd, hey, this is a serious, more evolved tag team, as Michael Cole put it. And Michael Cole tried to frame this as an evolution in their character, an evolution in their career, rather. And I think that's a very good way of putting it. They are evolving. And having Lashley there is a nice touch. He has been the straw that's stirring the drink for the Street Profits. I guess that they are still tweeners. The crowd reaction for them is still good. But facing the OC with their association to AJ Styles, you can make an argument that the Street Profits are actually heels. But I don't know if WWE knows. They're just kind of putting them out there, seeing how the crowd reacts, and then taking it from there. And I think it's going to end up being the Street Profits as a babyface tag team, because they had a pretty solid babyface support before. Bobby Lashley is he's a legacy star that still is in insane premium condition. But I do believe that given the stamina or the longevity of both teams and Lashley and the just genuine support that I think the crowd has for them, it's going to be difficult to turn them heel. They could do it, But also you have the bloodline that eventually we will get to at some point, when they return, and they'll be able to work with the bloodline maybe and have some new opponents other than just feuding with one another inside the bloodline. But overall, guy, I think this is a good evolution, as Michael Cole put it, for the Street Profits. They do need to do something, and it tells you that WWE valued keeping them together instead of going with what the general feeling of the audience was of just break them up, right? Give Montez Ford a damn singles career. And I think that's what most people were thinking was going to happen or wanted to happen, and they decided to keep them together and give it one last kick at the can with Lashley. So, all right, we're going to take a quick break for the sponsor of today's episode, Happy Hippo, and then we'll be right back with more on SmackDown and a little bit Monday Night Raw, so stay right here.
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. And those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this, all right? This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day, check out happyhippo.com, whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day. happyhippo.com.
Let's dive into Paul Heyman and his segment with Kayla Braxton. So, interesting segment. If you've noticed, Paul Heyman was unshaven. And the last time Paul Heyman was unshaven is when he was going through some stress with the bloodline. And that stress had to deal when he was Superman punched by Roman Reigns and ousted by the bloodline. If you remember that from, about a year and a half ago, it feels like. So this time he was unshaven, which signals he was in some kind of distress. The bloodline is in some kind of distress. He announced, though, that Jimmy Uso is going to be there next week and mentioned that Kayla asked who his source was, and Heyman said that even he wouldn't say, which is interesting that he would say that. I'm trying not to tie in The Rock to any of this. I'm really trying not to do that. It could be the beginnings. I keep looking for seeds of a beginning of that. And Grayson Waller has cooled off on the whole Rock thing. So I won't dive into any more of that until I hear more evidence. But it's interesting that there's an anonymous source out there that Jimmy will be there next week. I don't know how The Rock would make any sense, but it's just something to keep an eye out for if you care about such things. But more importantly, this did show that there's some distress in the bloodline. Paul Heyman clapped back at Kayla in a very personal way. And that dealing with her dad, her mom, and talking about how, what if I talked about the rumors about your mother? What if I talked about the rumors about your father? And the reason I say that that's a significant dig at Kayla is if you guys, and she's posted this publicly, so I'm not speaking out of turn here, but Kayla was born because of her mother being raped. That's real. I'm not making that up, not being a joke or anything. That's real. So that was a very personal dig at Kayla. And I thought Kayla was actually going to slap Paul Heyman. I was like waiting for it, but didn't happen. And she kept her composure, and, Heyman just continued on and took his call from his phone and all that. It was good to see Paul Heyman actually speaking into the right piece of the iPhone. That was good. He knows how to take a call on the phone. But other than that, there's not much to be said here. We did get a couple of packages of the Bloodline. So for people to say, the first time that the Bloodline storyline wasn't on SmackDown, or members of the Bloodline weren't on SmackDown, it's not entirely true because of the multiple video packages and Paul Heyman representing the Bloodline and the announcement of Jimmy Uso being there on SmackDown next week. It's not truly a SmackDown without the Bloodline. I mean, it's as close as we've been in 3 years, don't get me wrong, but it's not a true absence of the Bloodline from just a presence perspective. So that, I'll give them that it's the closest we've gotten, and it is a nice refresh to not see that SmackDown can have an identity without the Bloodline being the focal point of the show. It's a nice rest from the Bloodline. I tweeted this out, by the way, follow me at wrestling_audio on Twitter, that it is a nice feel for SmackDown. It feels fresh, that it's nice to see what SmackDown can be and what the identity of SmackDown can be and feel like without the Bloodline being at the center of it. Because eventually, it's not going to be, and it truly won't be, where it's not even mentioned in a video package or otherwise. So that was nice to see a bit of a change and kind of take a breather from the Bloodline. Step back, assess, reset, whatever the next chapter of it may be. Maybe it's The Rock, maybe it's not. Maybe, hopefully Roman goes outside to face whoever's next opponent is. Rumors are, again, swirling that Randy Orton is coming back very soon. John Cena, and I just got this as I went on the air, that John Cena is, I believe, confirmed to be returning to WWE September 1st, if I'm not mistaken. So if that's the case, I don't know what's going to happen there. I'd imagine he's leading to a program at WrestleMania already, or it could just be the Survivor Series. That's possible. Or he's just there to help put over another guy. I'm not sure. Just cut a promo or on. I don't know. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about on SmackDown, of course, is the LA Knight segment. Okay, we did get LA Knight coming in. He interrupted. Well, let me step back. There was a Grayson Waller effect. Rey Mysterio was there. Santos Escobar was there. We had Santos, or rather, Grayson Waller try to drive a wedge between Rey and Santos, and how, if it wasn't for, Rey taking the opportunity of Santos, Rey wouldn't be champion, and he tried to make it look like Rey stole his spotlight and everything, and it didn't work. It wasn't successful, at least right now, and we got Austin Theory interrupting and cutting a promo, and decent promo from Austin Theory, trying to make him feel relevant again. It's funny, Austin Theory feels better without the belt. It's like a weight has been literally lifted off of him. I've never had that where I feel like a star is better without a championship. 99 out of 100 cases, they're usually better with it if you want to make them a bigger star. But in this case, Austin Theory, as a kind of an up-and-comer still, feels better without the belt. It's bizarre, and I think it comes down to the fact that I don't think he knew who he was from an identity standpoint, at least from a character on air. It didn't come through well, and it was kind of bogging down the U.S. title. So taking the U.S. title off of him allows him to just have much more freedom, and it's like the chains have come off him in a weird way. I've never said that before. So that's how I felt anyway. I feel like he's better right now for development's sake without that championship. And maybe he'll circle back to it. But this did end up in a match with Austin Theory and LA Knight, because LA Knight came out and to a massive a massive crowd. I mean, or a massive reaction. He took issue with the Theory saying he was the greatest U.S. champion of all time. He said Theory defended his belt once in 3 months and fumbled the ball. He congratulated Ray and said he didn't care if it was Theory or Ray holding that title. It was coming home with him eventually. He then pitched Pierce the idea of facing Theory and the winner gets a shot at Ray for the U.S. title. And Pierce thought it was a great idea and said the only way it could get better is if it happened right now. So, again, no hint of Ray and Santos breaking up. I do want to see that happen. I would imagine, here's what I think is going to happen. If you want my fantasy booking take, I think Santos is going to see the light or the darkness, depending on your perspective, cost Ray the championship, and then LA Knight will capture the U.S. title later on this year from Santos Escobar. That's what I think is going to happen. Or we have a triple threat with Santos, or fatal four-way with Santos, Ray, Austin Theory, and LA Knight, and a fatal four-way for the U.S. title where Austin Theory would win there. If not, Santos will turn on Ray, cost Ray the he'll cost Ray the championship, and then you'll have LA Knight defeat Austin Theory, or if somehow Santos is able to get it in a match with Ray, then LA Knight will beat Santos. So it really comes down to, if you want to see Austin Theory as U.S. champion, we either have to wait for a fatal four-way with these four if Santos is not going to turn on Ray, or you need to have a heel turn by Santos. Once that happens and the title changes hands to a heel, LA Knight, I think, is in position to win the belt. So how long that's going to take, I don't know. But it could happen at Payback. It could happen at Fastlane. It could happen at Survivor Series or wherever. But I think it will happen before the end of the year. I don't think they'll wait till the Rumble. Now, if you're also prescribed to the idea that Austin Theory is not going to win the U.S. title because there are bigger things on the horizon for him, then you're in the boat of Royal Rumble. I know it's August. The Rumble's in January. August is nearly over. It's about 4 months away. And then you're talking about Austin Theory, who, if you're hoping wins the Rumble, should not be U.S. champion at that time. If they're going to go the road of Austin Theory winning the Rumble, he won't win the U.S. title, and that would make him a much stronger contender to win the Royal Rumble, because U.S. champions, I mean, if you're a champion, you aren't going to win the Royal Rumble, right? Like right off the bat. So there's also that. So those of you that may lose your minds, collective minds, over the fact that Austin Theory doesn't win the U.S. title over the next few months, may put him into position to win the Royal Rumble, if you are prescribed to that. And in that case, hey, anything's possible after that. It does sometimes lean back to The Rock, because if The Rock is not facing Roman and The Rock is out, and if I were WWE, I would get a solid yes or no, no wishy-washy, no last minute schedule nonsense. You either are in or you're out. I would want to know right now, because you're already planning for the Rumble. And if you don't have The Rock, LA Knight, guys, I know some of you might laugh. I think he's a candidate to beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40. And how crazy would that be, right? So if The Rock's not in, I think LA Knight's in. You could also make Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns Part 2. I've heard all about that. But again, we're getting way ahead of ourselves, as I tend to do. However, LA Knight lost this match. He lost to Austin Theory. So Austin Theory becomes the number one contender for the U.S. title. And that kind of makes sense. Looking at Rey Mysterio versus LA Knight, while people would still cheer LA Knight, it would be a much larger support from fans if it was a more consensual, or rather, maybe that's not the word, I guess a more intense support for LA Knight against a heel champion rather than against Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title. So I think you're going to have the U.S. title be changed hands once LA Knight becomes, or rather the U.S. title changes hands to a heel. All right, I've beat that to death. All right, so that pretty much covered SmackDown, guys. I know that a little bit more happened on Raw. It feels like forever ago. And Monday Night Raw is actually happening right now as I speak, which is kind of sad that I'm just getting to the weekend review now, I know. But, on Raw, it was all about Shinsuke explaining a whole bunch of nothing other than just, I want the U.S. title. And it's like, or the world title. Okay, duh. But we need either subtitles or you need to let Shinsuke speak so we can understand what the hell he is saying, okay? So that still continues to bother me. Sami Zayn and JD McDonough. Sami Zayn beat JD McDonough in 12 minutes. We got, what else happening here? Chad Gable beating Giovanni Vinci in 5 minutes. And Drew McIntyre, and Matt Riddle versus the Viking Raiders. They beat them in about 9.5 minutes. The Drew and Riddle did. So Riddle, once again, playing little brother, kind of like the tag along, trying to make friends. He's always like trying to cling to somebody. To me, he's like a nightmare of a girlfriend. Okay, like if I, and we've had these boyfriends and girlfriends and boyfriends, right? That they cling to everything. They're just needy. That's how I feel like Riddle is. I feel like he's very needy. And it's just something in my subconscious and conscious, that it turns me off about Riddle. But I see the dynamic. He's the little brother. He's the one that's annoying, but you can't hate but love him. You love to hate him or love to hate to love him, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But he's clinging to Drew, and eventually I think Drew is either going to turn on Riddle, or they just split up, and we'll see if this is an ongoing thing. I hope it's not an ongoing thing. I'm sorry, this is beneath Drew. I said this on my Raw review. It's beneath Drew to have to be tagged with Riddle right now. Drew belongs heel against Rollins. And perhaps they do that maybe they wait till all the way to WrestleMania, but eventually Rollins is going to run out of opponents to work with, okay? So especially if they are being the anti-Roman, where he has opponents all the time, anyone comes, gets an opportunity, they run through opponents at a much faster pace than they will with Roman Reigns, who's faced only the bloodline since WrestleMania. Think about that. Like, we are coming up on 5 months. 5 since Roman Reigns has defended the belt against anyone other than in the bloodline, and only 1 defense since WrestleMania. I don't care what world or universe or belief you have or that you prescribe to about who and how and when champions should defend their belts. I believe there is no formula that would make this okay. This is just ridiculous. So, of how few he defends, or how little he defends his belt, and how his world of opponents has been narrowly focused to the bloodline, and we haven't even seen Solo yet. So, all right. So let's see here. We got Rhea Ripley versus Indy Hartwell. Rhea Ripley, beat her badly. It's not good if you're an Indy Hartwell fan. We got Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus that ended in a double count out rather, in 11 minutes and 30 seconds. Zoe Stark gets involved, and of course we're going to see a steel cage. LOL to the steel cage having any effect on outsider interference or any kind of mitigation of that. It's hilarious and also insulting as a fan. Cody Rhodes and Finn Balor ended up being the main event, and Cody beat Finn Balor in 14:25. Afterward, Dom attacked Cody, and we had Zayn try to make the save, but we had JD McDonough, not PJ, okay? I should have said PJ just to see what you guys say. But JD McDonough made the save for the Judgment Day and ended up with having, of course, Sami Zayn being left laying. Judgment Day stands tall. So, all right, guys, quick and dirty week in review. I apologize for the kind of fast-paced tone in which I was speaking and all that, but got to get back to the fam and got to get back to vacay. So you guys enjoy Monday Night Raw. I will be back hopefully with some Monday Night Raw takes later this week. I don't know if a mailbag's happening. You guys can send your questions in, but it may be kind of few and far between. Or I may do a combo edition. That's probably what I'll do, is a combo mailbag Raw show. That'll be done tomorrow night or Wednesday. And that way, just because the time I have to do this is pretty slim. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for joining me here on the WWE Podcast. Go ad-free on Patreon or on Apple Podcasts or on WWEpodcast.com. And I will, of course, talk to you guys next time.
All right, it's time to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's episode, happyhippo.com. So if you guys haven't checked this out, you got to go to happyhippo.com because they have some of the highest quality kratom products that I've ever come across. And if you guys aren't familiar with what kratom is, it's an herbal substance that has many different uses, everything from a balanced mind to energy. It can help you relax. And my wife and I, over the last couple of weeks, have tried out some of their products. And I have to say, it has improved her sleep specifically. She's very anxious and her mind runs at night, and it has helped her fall asleep and stay asleep. She actually was using one of the powders that comes in a pouch from Happy Hippo, and just dropped it into her water, and off she went, and she was just she was very happy. Let me just put it that way. And so myself, during the workday, if you guys didn't know, I have a big boy job. I work in contract management, and I need that balance. I need the energy during the day, and they have something called Hyper Hippo and an energy shot. Those energy shots come in those little tiny bottles. You guys are familiar with it from other brands that use that type of packaging, but there's nothing like this, all right? This energy shot, I take it, easy to take, and within minutes, I feel the effects. There's no massive crash after I take it either, which is a huge deal, right? How many energy drinks have you taken and coffee have you drank throughout the day that just leads to the massive crash? Well, this doesn't, and it's an all-natural herb. And I'm telling you right now, it will help you get through your day. It can help you relax, depending on the type of product you're looking for. Happy Hippo delivers. And guess what? Right now, if you have an order of 200 or more, you can get free next day FedEx shipping. And also, their stuff tastes great. So check out happyhippo.com. Support the WWE podcast and Happy Hippo. And do yourself a favor as well, guys. I'm telling you right now, if it can help my wife go to sleep, for somebody as anxious as she is, and as somebody that needs as much energy as I do during the day to do this podcast and to do my job during the day, check out happyhippo.com. Whether you're trying to relax or whether you need energy or balance during the day, happyhippo.com.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.